Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining in today's session, wherein we are focusing on the Microsoft Word plugin, which is part of the Contractflow application. So I would just quickly hand it over to Vikram Chakrabarti, who will be just taking it over and sharing his screen and going through how we can start using the Microsoft Word plugin. Vikram, over to you.
Okay, thank you, Maddie. Good morning, everyone, and my name is Vikram. So today we will take a look at how you can, identify, track key terms in your contracts that have been redlined by the external party. This is a very typically a tedious process when an external party sends back a redlined contract to you, and then you have to manually look through 50 or 60 pages of contract, to identify what has been redlined. So we'll see how that can be made faster and more efficient today. All right, so let me bring my screen up on. Okay, just give me a second. All right, so I hope everyone can see my screen. Maddie, are you able to see my screen? Okay. Anyone can give me a quick confirmation?
Yes, Vikram, we are able to see this.
All right. Okay. Thank you. All right. So as you can see here, I am logged into Avenir's Contractflow. I'm logged in as Melissa, a contract manager who is responsible for managing the contracting process in this organization. And what I mean by contracting process is the drafting of the contract from standard templates, or getting the contracts negotiated back and forth between different stakeholders, internal and external, getting the contract approvals, signatures, and essentially managing the contracts post signature. So that's the person who's logged in today. Her name is Melissa. Now excuse me. So today we'll just quickly take a look at a scenario where Melissa is going to draft out a contract, send that contract out to the external party. The external party will redline some of the key terms in that contract and send back. And then we'll see how Melissa is able to quickly identify what are those terms that have been changed. All right, so let's begin with that. So first of all, I'm going to start a quick contract, and just one quick disclaimer, which I always see on all my webinars, is that the screen that you're seeing here, this is a landing page. It may look a little different in your implementations because every implementation we do is very unique to our customer's requirement. So essentially this screen which I'm on right now is the landing page in my demo system, but it could look different. You could have a different set of charts and graphs on your landing page. Okay, but essentially this is the landing page. All right, so I'm going to create a quick contract. So essentially Melissa is creating a quick contract. Sorry about that. Okay, let's choose a vendor. Let's take any vendor here. J&J food suppliers, for example, and let's take a master supply agreement as an example, and choose a template, click proceed. I'm sure this is quite familiar. If you're already using the Avenir system today, you would be pretty familiar with what I have just done. So now we are on the contract workspace. Again, this is a very familiar screen for you all, so I'll not give a lot of explanation on what this screen is about. It's where you basically draft the contracts. You can see the template here on the right, and various fields on the left hand side. So I'll quickly go ahead and provide some information here, like let's call this contract supply agreement, or it's just some name there. Okay. And let's say this contract is supposed to start from the 10th of next month. It's a 2 years contract. End date gets computed automatically. And let's say this is a $250,000 worth contract. I'll leave some of the other information here blank. Let's say the governing law is United States. So that goes in here under clause number 14. And under additional information, there are a whole bunch of terms such as period for additional term extension, default lead time for product delivery, payment terms, SLAs for defect rates, and so on. All right. So these are all defaulted here, and they are also reflected at the right locations and the right clauses in the contract. So I'm just going to go ahead and hit save. This will create a contract record in the system, and then I'm going to send this contract out to the external party for them to review this contract. So we'll just give it a few seconds here. Okay, there you go. The contract has been saved, and there is a contract number that's been generated and associated with this contract. And it's now in the draft stage. Again, I'm sure these are very familiar steps now by now. All right, so let's go into actions. So Lisa now wants to send this contract out to the external person, basically somebody from J&J Suppliers. So she chooses this action, send for external review, and click yes. So this will actually send the contract document in the Microsoft Word docx format, right? That's how you typically send contracts to external people, because they still review contracts in its Word format, right? So here's the version 1.0, the docx that the system has just generated, and the external person's email ID is this. So Vikram at avenue.com, of course, it happens to be me. I'm the external person, and Lisa quickly chooses a template, an external review template. So that just fills out the subject and the body, and then she hits send. So now the contract has been drafted and sent out to the external party. Now we will move on to the next step, where the external party, which was Vikram in this case, is going to open that contract document and make a few changes and red lines to some of the key terms. Okay. So let's see. Okay. So now here is Vikram, who has received this contract document. It has just come in at 9:37 a.m. India Standard Time. So it's coming just now, right? Here's the contract attachment. And this is contract number, the last 5 digits are 01628. So let's just kind of keep that in mind, the last 2 digits, 28. All right, so what Vikram does is, let's say he just saves it to the downloads folder for now, and then goes into his downloads folder. Here it is, 1628, double clicks, opens that contract document, and is then able to see all of these terms and conditions. So let's say, let's start with some basic terms that he's going to redline. So let's say he redlines the effective date of this contract to maybe from 10th to maybe 12th. Okay. There's another, let's see, search for defects. All right, so here's another term on the which is the service level commitment that says 98.5% of products delivered should be defect free. So, let's say that he decides to change that to 98% instead of 98.5, right? And let's go down a bit here. So there is another clause here, clause number 13, that's about quality assurance and compliance, where it says here at the last line that in no event, if there are any failures to comply with standard quality assurance, then within 3 months, they should, take rectification or, remedial action. So let's say that is also changed to, let's say 5 months. Okay. Something like that. So this is an example of how the external party would redline some of the key terms. So we're really focusing only on the terms today. Of course, in a they could also, redline the language of the clause itself, and that's fine. That's also something which we would cover in a later webinar. But we are just focusing today on some of the essential or the key terms that are being redlined. All right. So with that, what Vikram will now do is essentially save this file and close this file, and then go back to his email. This was the email that he received, and he simply replies back on the same email address. Hi, Lisa. Red lines attached, and attaches that file which has just been modified. I go to downloads. That's the one, 1628. And then hit send it back. So essentially, that is what the external party has done. They've just redlined a few terms and sent that contract back. So Lisa basically is going to receive that contract. That contract typically comes back as an email, but it gets automatically ingested into this system. So it takes a few seconds. What we'll do is we will not wait for that. So we will just move ahead with the workflow. So let's say that Lisa has received that email already, and she goes back. She opens that email, this document from the email. Okay, she opens this redline documents from the that she has received, and now she has to look through this lengthy document to know what are the terms that have been changed. Of course, traditionally she would use the scroll bar and scroll through this document to search for those terms which have been redlined. But with Avenir, there is this word plugin which gives you this option here to reconcile fields. And so when you click reconcile field, what it would show you is the differences. So for example, you can see here start date, the document value is 12th, but the contract value is 10th, which means the value in the contract record. So you can see that there is a difference here, right? Then if you move down further, you will see that this SLA defect-free rate is also changed to 98 from 98.5. So you can select this one as well. And then going down further, you see that, yeah, the period to bring operations into audit compliance has also been changed to 5 months from 3 months, right? So you can go ahead and select that as well. And likewise, if there were any other changes to any of these terms, those would also be visible just like this. So you can select all of these terms by clicking the checkbox and simply hit reconcile. What this will do is it will keep your contract document, this Word file, and the contract record in Avenir in sync without any manual inputs or manual data entry. So it says all the fields in this document have been updated successfully. All right, so let me show you that. So we'll go back into the record. You may also notice that this status has changed to response received because the response was sent back. The redlined copy was sent back by Vikram. But let's just go ahead and see the effect of the reconciliation that we did just now. Okay. So I'll just quickly reload my browser and just give it a second. So let's start with start date. So as you can see, start date has been updated from 10 to 12th. Okay. And let's go down to the additional information section. So here, the SLA defect-free rate has been updated to 98% from 98.5%. And this period to bring operations into audit compliance was also updated in the system to 5 months from the original 3 months. So as you can see, what's happening here is we are keeping the contract record and the contract document in sync by that reconciliation feature, which I just showed you. So that reconcile window, which opened up in Microsoft Word, is a very easy one window that you can see all your redline terms. You don't need to scroll down through 50 pages of contract. And at the click of a button, you can, reconcile those changes back into the Avenir record. and thus your Avni record and your Microsoft Word document are always going to be in sync very easily, fast, and without any human without having to actually key in or type in any data. All right, so for today's session, this is what I wanted to cover. I hope this session was informative to you as well. So yeah, that brings me to the end of my presentation. Thank you very much for your presence today, and I hand it back to Maddie.
Thank you, Vikram, and that was really insightful. And I would be very honest, fairly easy in terms of knowing where the red lines were made. So yeah, so just I would just like to launch a quick poll in terms to understand the effectiveness of our webinar. So focus to today's topic on the Microsoft Word redlining. So I'll just give it a couple of seconds and I'm just waiting for the poll results. While the poll results are coming in, the next topic for the webinar is again focused on the same Microsoft Word plugin, focused on the clause library, how you can simplify your entire negotiation process and simplify the entire contract management process. Okay, so yeah, so I've not got any poll response. I'll just end the poll. And with that, I would like to end today's session. And thank you again for taking your time out. And let's meet again for the next session for the Microsoft Word plugin. Thank you, Vikram. Have a great day.